everyone, it's Harley, and today I am going to be sharing with you my top 10 tips for taking care and keeping your rubber tree plant happy. These are gorgeous houseplants and very, very popular, so I just thought this video would be helpful, and let me know in the comment section down below what you think of this video. If you have any tips you can add to this list, please leave them in the comment section as well. So anyway, let's just get into it. My first tip is to purchase a healthy houseplant to begin with. The way you can tell if a rubber tree plant is happy is if they are pushing new growth. That's always a surefire sign that they're pretty happy. Another thing to watch for is even sized leaves. If the leaves on the plant aren't all the same size, that means it may be going through some things, which I definitely relate to that. If any of the leaves are super discolored, I would say to pass on it, just because that may mean that there are underlying issues in the plant. That's not to say that you can definitely revive it if you're feeling up to it. That's all I can say there. My second tip is to repot it into well-draining soil. A common problem with rubber tree plants is root rot, and a way to avoid that, of course, is by potting it into well-draining soil. You can just use a general houseplant soil mix, and then I would say to add a little bit of perlite just to give it extra aeration of the roots. My next tip goes along those same lines, and it is that when you're repotting the rubber tree plant, to not plant it in an extra big pot. Make sure to plant it into a pot that is 2 inches wider on the side and then also 2 inches deeper down below. Tip number 4 is that the rubber tree plant prefers bright indirect light. If your rubber tree plant is a variegated version, you're going to want to keep it several feet back from the window because the leaves are a little bit more prone to burning, as well as if it's too close to the window for too long, it may lose its variegation, which would extremely suck because if you bought a variegated plant, it was for a reason and you probably want to keep it that way. If it is the all green version, you can definitely stick it right next to the window and call it good. Something else along the light brightness lines is temperature. So just make sure to keep your house above 55 degrees Fahrenheit. So once you've had your rubber tree plant for a while, something you may notice is that it starts to lean toward the light. If that's the case, then just be sure to rotate your plant sporadically so that you can get even leaf growth. If it's facing in the same direction for too long, the leaves are going to grow on one side of the plant, causing unevenness and causing it to bend. So if you just keep rotating it about every month or 2 months, then you should be good. Tip number 6 is to only water the plant when the soil is completely dry. If you're watering too frequently, then your plant may get root rot, which we discussed earlier. They are a little bit prone to that root rot issue we talked about. Another issue you may get from overwatering is browning on the leaf tips. So if you notice that all around the edges of the leaves is getting brown and kind of soft, that's a sign that you need to cut back on the watering. Tip number 7 is to water with room temperature water. This is just kind of the safest method. If you're watering with too cold or too hot of water, you may shock the plant, causing leaves to drop or stunted growth or a whole plethora of things. So just stick with room temperature water. A really easy way to get room temperature water is to fill a pitcher of water in the morning and then water the plant with that the next day. That way it has been sitting out in your room and you know for certain it is the same temperature as the air. Tip number 8 is to trim back small, discolored, or just not the best looking leaves. This helps the plant use the energy more wisely on creating healthier new growth instead of having to deal with all of the not as cute growth and wasting energy on that. Another thing about the sap is that it's very toxic, so if you are cutting any of the leaves off that look unhealthy or anything, you're going to want to hold a paper towel up against that wound and make sure the sap isn't touching you or any animals, because it can cause skin irritation, and you just want to make sure that the sap is finished running before you remove that paper towel. Otherwise it'll run all down your plant and it can potentially harm like the leaves it drips onto. Tip number 9 is to clean the leaves monthly. So what you're going to do to clean the leaf is dip a soft cloth into half lemon juice, half water mixture, and go ahead and wipe down all of the tops of the leaves very, very gently. Wiping down the leaves like this every month removes excess dust from the leaves and not only makes them extremely shiny, but it also slightly helps plant cells get more light so that it can more easily photosynthesize, which, as we know, creates the plant's energy that it uses to create healthy growth. Yes, this is just kind of a small difference in the amount of light it's getting, but it still definitely makes a difference, and it does definitely look a lot nicer. Tip number 10 is if you have a rubber tree plant and you'd like to get another plant for free, you can go ahead and propagate the rubber tree plant. There are several ways to do this. My personal favorite way is to cut the plant about 3 or 4 nodes down on the plant and pull off the bottom leaves and stick it in room temperature water, and it'll grow roots. Then once the roots have grown so long, a couple inches at least, you can go ahead and plant it in soil. This plant is extremely resistant to bugs, so you don't really have to worry about infestations. You can kind of scour the plant every once in a while just to make sure things are going smoothly, but like I said, it's mostly going to become a victim to root rot, if anything, so you don't really have to worry too much about this plant if you're not overwatering it. These plants can grow 100 feet tall in the wild where they're native, so that's like extremely massive. That's so cool. They live for years and years and years, and I mean, I wish that they grew outdoors where I live because I really do think they're just such beautiful plants. Yes, the sap that the plant produces is actually used to make rubber, which is really interesting. So those were all 10 tips for taking care of your rubber tree plant. Let me know what you thought of this video in the comments section down below. Leave any video requests there as well. I try to get around to filming all of the requests, and thank you so much for watching. I will see you in my next one. Bye!